Hello, my name is Madison Ellis, and I'm here today to talk about education so you'll be more informed on the issue. A Supreme Court judge once said, "We are never going to reach equality in America until we achieve equality in education." I'm here today to talk about the public education system. Even though we all attend a public college, it is much different than the K-12 public education that's out there. We've all graduated from high school, and I assume the majority of us went to a public high school, so hats off to you. So you're probably wondering, why should I care about public education? Well, the education system is a very complicated thing, and in order to improve it, people must advocate it for it and vote for policies that aid it rather than diminish it. In this speech today, I will encourage you to give back to education, whether that is donating $1 to a fundraiser or volunteering your time, because everything makes a difference. I believe that you are genuinely passionate about education and how it makes a difference in your community. But I believe that you need to know more about it so that you can improve it. And if you're not passionate about the issue, then I hope my speech will persuade you otherwise. I'm going to give you a breakdown on the public education system so you'll fully understand it when voting for the issue. According to the Department of Education, the federal government sets up policies through presidential acts, the latest one being the Every Student Succeeds Act, which was implemented by Barack Obama, preceding George W. Bush's act. In these acts, it's a list of ways that education needs to be improved through different policies and implementations. In Every Student Succeeds Act, he highlights high academic standards, monitoring student progress through state assessments like standardized testing, and looking for aid for low-income areas to improve their education. The federal government, it leads to the state governments. According to a Harvard article, the state governments are in charge of implementation of the acts, state policies, and general funding. Implementation of the acts consists of the federal government standards, and they implement them through state policies, which mainly consist of state standardized testing. Each state is in charge of creating its own standardized tests for its schools. Then general funding. According to governing.com, I'm using Oklahoma as an example. Oklahoma, 46% of its funding comes from the state governments, and 42.3% comes from the local governments, and the rest from the federal government. After the state governments, it leads to the local governments. Local governments are mainly in charge of funding, and they do that through property taxes. Using taxfoundation.com, I consisted of 3 different counties in Oklahoma, ranging from high, medium to low. Being the highest, Cleveland County, with $1,789, medium being Roger Mills County being $590, and Cimarron County being $244. Property taxes is the way that local governments can fund their schools, and they do that through funneling through districts. Districts are mainly in charge of teacher pay, but with the property taxes, once again, the higher the property taxes is, the more money goes to those local schools. So Cimarron County does not get that much money compared to Cleveland County, and that is just not fair because I believe in an equality education. Funding is the essential thing that will change education and will help make schools more equal throughout the United States. I come up with a funding visual today that the staff have provided from governing.com, and they each show how each state funds their education system. And New York being the highest and Utah being the lowest, New York provides $22,000 per student, and Utah provides $7,000 per student. And with advocating and changing policies and voting for more policies that will make education equal through the United States, I hope to erase the lines and so that we're all connected and we're all receiving the same amount of money, and that every school will have the opportunity to provide equal education for its students. You're probably wondering, how can I make a difference? How can I change the funding when it comes to education on at least a national basis? Well, according to the Department of Education fact sheet, $15.4 billion goes to Title I grants throughout the United States. If you're wondering what Title I is, well, according to the Department of Education, it's money set aside for low-income areas in order to make up for the property taxes. Well, that's just not the case. Title I. Title I grants go to schools that have at least 2% of their students that live in poverty. So therefore, the majority of schools receive Title I money. And that's just not fair, because schools with low income areas should just be receiving the majority of the money. Well, how can you make a difference? Well, I advocate for change. I advocate for some type of policy or law to be made that will change the Title I formula. And if you agree with that, then you can vote on that issue. And that will really help create more funding for low income areas. I've talked about funding and how it will make a difference. You're probably wondering, how will it make a difference? Well, I'll talk about that in my next part. So, how will funding make a difference? Well, funding is the big picture, and this will really allow schools to thrive in new ways that we haven't seen before. It will allow schools to make it their building more tech savvy, and that's really good for students. They really like the idea of having a technological school. And also, funding will allow for more teachers, and therefore smaller classrooms. You're probably wondering, well, what makes the difference between a big classroom and a small classroom? Well, the smaller the classroom allows for one-on-one learning, and that's really important for some students because the test environment and just overall learning is very chaotic for them, and if there's 30 kids in the classroom, then they're not really getting attention compared if there's only 15 kids in the classroom. That's why funding will really allow for new horizons to arise, and overall it'll just make it better. And imagine when you were in elementary school, you would have loved to have been able to play with an iPad and learn fractions and just had fun with your friends, and that's what funding will do. It will just allow schools to thrive in new aspects. I really emphasized on how much funding will make the difference, and you're probably wondering, well, how can I make a difference personally? Well, there's currently no bills or policies that look at the Title I formula, and like I said before, the Title I formula is very fixed and just not fair for others, but that won't make an immediate impact because bills and policies take a long time to get settled. So, how can you make a difference? Well, you can become a tutor or donate school supplies to a local school, and that will really help in so many ways because tutoring a kid will allow him or her to really reach their academic potential. And also just helping your community with education. I really believe that if you're invested in your community, then so much will come out of that. So as college students, let's go up and volunteer at a local school or donate school supplies. And I really think that will make equal education. I hope that today I really helped you understand education and how the system works. If you have any questions, you may ask at this time.